Irregular Miniatures, Incredibly Fast Napoleonic Rules by Ian K. and Company. This is a one... Alright, we're cheating. It's a 2-page rules, and we're cheating because it's A4 size. But hey, look, we got a nice big illustration, so maybe it's not. Is it incredibly fast? I don't know. I don't think I've ever played these rules. Maybe we did one little abortive attempt earlier. In order to test them, get used to them, kind of fiddle around a little bit, Ian tells us that it should last about 2 hours. We're doing a very simple scenario here. We took this from Absolute Emperor by old Boyd Bruce. Is it Boyd Bruce or Bruce Boyd? Battle of Bumville 3. Everything comes straight from there, and we can see Bumville just over there, just past this nice big field. As you can see, we've got some woods to one side. I threw down a hill over here just to add a little more interest. The roads don't have any effect according to the rules. Doesn't really matter. They're down there. They're for aesthetics, though. They complete the battlefield. What are we looking at? We have one 9-pound cannon over here. It's a battery of cannons. We have a unit of conscripts. They're not great. We've got 1, 2, 3 units of line infantry. They're okay. They're standard. And then we've got 1 unit of light cavalry over here on the far left flank of the British. They just have to hold Bumville for 15 turns according to the Absolute Emperor rules. I don't know if that's going to work. I think this is going to be one of those games we'll just kind of play it out. We'll see how it goes. And in the end, it should be pretty obvious who has won. Maybe when you translate one rules to another, we should do like a random game length. I don't know. We'll just kind of play. We'll just go for it. Over here in the foreground, we have the French having just topped the rise, come over the hill. They can now see Bumville over there. It's about 1.5 feet away, about 30, 40 centimeters. The French are attacking with 2 units of dragoons, 2 units of veteran infantry, and 1 grand battery. Now, these are 9-pounders. They have a range of 36 centimeters. So, as you can see, there's your 30 centimeters right there, about 31. They're just out of cannon range. Cannons, I don't know if I mentioned this in the last video, they fire at a 22-degree, so it's basically like if you start at the back and then come up, start at the center back, kind of. If you start corner to corner, that's 45. So I think if you start center back and go to either corner, that's kind of the firing arc for those guns. One big question that we didn't ask in the last video is the actual turn order. Now, Ian tells us that on a given turn, you do orders, movement, artillery, close range fire, then hand-to-hand combat, and then you test for routes. But do both sides move simultaneously? Do we do move and move? Do we do artillery and artillery? How do you know who goes first? Oh, we got to fill that out. Now, based on induction, we can deduce that the orders and command and control are done at the same time. I think what we'll do is we'll roll the dice, and then whoever has the most order points gets to do all of his movement first, then the other guy does his movement. Then the winner of initiative will do artillery, then the other guy will do his artillery. Then we do close range firing. That's the only way that really makes sense to me. The order dice and then moving artillery, close fire, I don't know. So the other thing we could do is we can do it once like that, and then maybe we refight this, because it is an incredibly fast rule set after all, where first one side does everything, then the other side does everything, except I don't know who would go first in that event. Maybe it's just an initiative roll. Hey, it's a 2-page set of rules. You get what you pay for like 50 pence. I think it cost me $3. You get what you pay for, which is fine. These are the answers we can come up with. I think it's largely a scenario-driven game, and the scenario should be able to tell you that. The white die is going to be for, we'll roll that for our infantry. This is an average die. The faces are 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, and then the D6 are for the artillery and the guys on the ponies. For orders, we roll a D6 for every 6 brigade. Each of these is a brigade, by the way. See, 3 battalions, that's 1 brigade. We've got 2, 4, 6 on the side of the British and 7 on the part of the French. And so that means we are going to, it's rounded down to the nearest 6. So that means we're rolling a D6 for each of them. I'm going to roll, let's go with white for the British, black for the French. And on this turn, the French have 4 points, the British have 1, which means the French are going to do all of their stuff first. Before movement, I realized it's a bit silly to start the French off in line. That means they give up half a turn of movement. They've just come onto the table. They're going to be in column, and that means that with the 4 order points that we've got, they can bring their 3 cannons up and the one of these 2 flanking units of horses. We're going to try to swing wide and drive off the light cavalry over there. With just the 1 order point, the British are going to just swing these light cavalry around. They're just going to delay, try to hold that flank as long as possible. That's the only movement we're going to have. That is going to take us to the cannon fire phase. Or is it? Now that I think about it, moving these guns up 9 centimeters uses all their movement. They need to use half their movement to limber or unlimber, which means they're not going to be able to fire this turn. But the British are. So how does cannon fire work? It's actually pretty simple. There's no modifier for range. These are heavy guns, so they have a -2. You are firing at a unit that is 2 battalions deep, which means you need to roll a 2 or less. With the -2 to that roll, that becomes a 4 or less. Bear in mind, if I was firing at a column, now they're out of range, I can't fire at this column, but if I was firing at it, it would be 6 battalions deep. This brigade, I would do 1 damage on a 6 or less. So that's pretty much how that works. And if you roll, so because they're already limbered, they're already set up, they're in defensive position, they're within 36 centimeters, we just roll, and with the result of a 6, there's no effect. So we're pretty much done with the turn. We don't have to worry about morale or close range or long range shooting. That means we come right back around to the pip roll. 5 and 5 means simultaneous movement. I'm going to give both teams 5 points, but we're going to roll off to see who has the real initiative. And with the black die being a 5, that means the French get to move, shoot, and do all their fun stuff first. The French have begun to advance with their columns. They only have 5 points, so they brought the cannons up, wheeled them this way, and it looks like the British are going to sacrifice their conscripts. They have brought the conscripts out, brought their regulars up to secure that flank and make that line nice and even. The light cavalry have come out a little bit. I don't know if they're going to swing around or if they're going to wait. Maybe they can countercharge, but that's going to be it for movement. Now we get to charging it. Notice, see the little white strips on the back? The little blue spots here on our 2mm figures, those are the guns facing this way, and we're going to see if we can drive those conscripts from the field. We get 3 shots. Everything is the same. We're firing it. We need a 1 or a 2. Heavy guns mean we need a 4 or less. For every 4 or less, we will do 2 FDP, and that means we drop 2 fatigue and damage points right here. The British now return fire, and oh my gosh, this column, we probably should have left them in line. I brought them up to 12 centimeters, trying to move them as fast as possible. Here they are. They're going to take 1 shot, and on anything on a 6 or less, they are going to take 1 fatigue point. What does a fatigue point mean? I'm not entirely sure, but we will find out. Nobody is within the 2 centimeters of that would force close range firing, so we move on to turn number 3. And at 9 centimeters, I think it's going to take about 4 turns to get the French up there. So once again, 3 and 3, and we roll to see who really has initiative, and it's going to be the French have initiative, but they only get to move 3 of their units. I think we have to move. These guys are going to go 4.5. That's half of their movement. And then they're going to change to lines, so they're only getting hit on the 1s and 2s. I think the same thing is going to happen over here, 4.5. And we're going to go into lines, so we are now ready to attack. 1 centimeter is 50 yards, which puts them about a kilometer away. Let's see, 1 is 50, so 20 times, yeah, that's, there you go. So that's about a kilometer away. Time to get serious. The squadron of horse that have yet to move is also going to ride up. We're going to try to swing them around and see if we can hit this cannon in the flank, or maybe force the cannon to turn away so that our overwhelming numbers, I'm not quite sure how this is going to work. But I do know that the cavalry in column can move a whopping 18 centimeters, and if we move them to here, they may be out of that firing arc for the gun. So the gun fires a little something like this, and it looks like it's just going to clip them. I don't know if that's going to call it or not. Well, either way, the gun is going to fire at this unit over here. The British do have The initiative... No, wait, I haven't moved the British yet, have I? The French have the real initiative. The British can move 3 more units. So we will move this unit up. If we move it up to here, it's going to block that cannon fire shot. So why don't we continue to swing it around this way? They can move in line. They can move, I think it's 9 centimeters in regular. Yep, 9 centimeters. So we'll swing them about 6 and then bring them 3 up. So we're going to march them right across the front. And I know this is bad tactics. I know this is not smart, but I want to see what happens, okay? Because we are back to the artillery fire phase. And if you have to run an experiment to see how badly hurt people are, you might as well use your expendables. If you noticed a little flicker of movement, the light cavalry over here have lined up and they are ready to charge the dragoons, which might be a mistake. But again, we're running all kinds of experiments. With 555s, the Grand Battery does no damage to them. They need 4s or less. The British guns begin to sound, or continue to sound, I should say. With the result of a 3, they're going to do an additional FDP against this line infantry right here. That is, again, the end of the turn, so we have to roll for initiative. Moving on to turn 4. That's the 3rd tie in a row. I'm getting a little freaked out here. Who has the genuine initiative? It is the British this time, and that means that these conscripts with a fatigue of 2 are, oh, they're too far away. Maybe we should have just charged the guns. We could pivot to here. And on the next turn, if we survive, I'm going to be really impressed if these conscripts drive off the guns. More importantly, they're buying time for the British gun to do something here. So that's no, that's not true. We're also going to bring the light cavalry over here up the full 18 centimeters. They are in line. I'm going to bring them back just a little bit because they're going to have to do a little bit of wheeling to come around. But what this does, oh, that 6 is devastating because what it does, actually, we're going to bring them back to here. It gives the French the ability to move all of their units but 1. Now, they're not going to move these guns, so they're going to move all 4. The infantry will all advance. These guys will continue their wide swing, and then these guys are going to have to change their formation to line. And that's going to be it for all of the motion. If we do a little sweep from left to right, you can see that the cavalry are facing off over here on the French right flank. And I've pivoted this unit of veteran infantry to fire into the flanks of these guys. I'll show you why here in a little bit. First, we have to do cannon fire. The French get to fire first, and they are going hell-bent for leather. They're going to get 2 more hits. What do these hits mean? You're going to find out here pretty shortly, because cannon fire won't drive them off the field at all. The British now face a difficult choice. They are going to get flanked by this cavalry. I believe you can move and pivot in place. I think that's a reasonable thing for the guns to do so that we can fire over here and do 1 FDP against this unit. You guys tell me, you guys are the experts. Is that a reasonable assumption for a gun that the artillery battery, it's not moving, they're just kind of turning it, and we have the order point. Now, I do think you need one of those pips to do so, but the British rolled a 6. They're doing fine. They're okay. So that being the case, we can fire over here, and because these guys are 4 battalions deep, and we're heavy guns, we're going to do 1 FDP to that unit over there. I still think that's a fair trade. That's it for the artillery. Now, for the first time, we get to figure out what happens when you engage in this sort of up close, up front, and close firing. Now, this is close range firing and charge resolutions. When opposing units reach 2 centimeters distance, they issue fire and establish the will to charge. Try to match them up and treat them as separate battlefronts. So I suspect that what he's getting at here is that we're going to treat this as a single fight, like so. So that's 2 centimeters between them. I didn't really measure it. If you want me to, see, there you go, 2, okay. Hope you're happy. All right, then what we do, each brigade adds or subtracts the following factors, then adds its morale value on the roll of die. Now remember, so here's our factors. Remember, the British is using a conscript, allied conscript. So they're only going to add 1 to the result of the average die. The target is not in flank. The fires are British, so they're going to add another 1. So that's 2. And then add 3, 4 because they are in line. And I think that's it. So the British are going to roll a total of 6. We'll put a die there just to remember what it is. The French are going to open fire. And because they are veterans, we'll add 3 to the roll. They're in line, so we add another 2. So it's the average die plus 5. We get a 4. And that means a total of 9 over here. That's significant because when you have 50% more than your opponent, you force your opponent to retire. But I forgot. These guys have 5 fatigue damage points. Remember, they had 4. They might even have 6 altogether. I'm going to say 5. It's fine. So that reduces this down to 1. Now, if this had been a 6 to 9, then the British, having lost, would have had to retire the total difference in centimeters. They would have had to retire 3 centimeters, and the victor can occupy that ground. But because we have doubled up, this unit is routed. They are more than 10 centimeters away from everybody else, which means that rout does not cause the cascading effect. They did their job. They bought some time for the regulars, but that time is over. The rules say if one total is 100%, the whole force that contributed to that total is routed. That's the results down here, but what does routing mean? I just pulled those figures off. That might not be right. It says up here, if a brigade's opponent routs, the player rolls against the victorious brigade's FDPs to see if he pursues. If he's less than or equal to, he must pursue. He has none, so we're not even going to roll. He doesn't have to pursue. If the roll is above the number of FDPs, it may choose to pursue or halt. But what does pursuit mean? Boy, that's a great question. I don't know. I think you get 1 move to pursue. That's how I would play this. But you can tell me down in the comments if you think that's appropriate. Now, test routes. Any infantry brigade which sees a friendly brigade rout. So I think rout means pull them off. If the roll is less than or equal to, it also routs. Routers attempting to rally have 1 chance only. Wait, you get 1 chance to rally? If you roll greater than their FDPs, they rally. Any brigade that routs receives an extra FDP. I don't know that it tells me exactly what it means to rout in these rules. Oh, here it is. A rout or pursuit move is half the formation's normal move plus the roll of the unit's die in centimeters. Okay, so I gotta drop these guys back down on the table. So I think this means that they are going to rout. They turn around and they move. Normally they could only move 9, so that means they're going to move 4.5 centimeters directly away from their opponents, and they have 1 chance to recover. Remember, they had 5 FDP. So, well, hold on. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. These guys are going to opt to pursue because they could use the extra movement to get up into combat. Oh, they can choose to halt or pursue. They're going to choose to pursue. Except I forgot. They move that plus this. So these guys are going to move another 3. These guys are going to move another 4. And that means, in addition to the half, so these guys move 3, these guys move 4, but they have to halt 2 centimeters away unless they're in hot pursuit. So we'll take the extra movement. I think this is good. I think we're doing okay here, guys. That takes us to the rallying phase with 5 FDPs. They will only successfully rally on a 6, and it says they only have 1 chance. If they roll greater than their FDPs, they rally. What does that mean? Any brigade that routs receives an extra FDP to any already allocated. Oh, they were at 6. They could not rally. And I think this is where they're routed off the board. I think if you rally, take 1 FDP off. They've they've rested, they've regained their courage. It's not in the rules, but I think that is an appropriate rule because there's no other way to remove FDP from the table. So that will end the turn, and we go back to let's roll for another tie. Wow, I'm good. Man, I got to go buy myself a lottery ticket. Who's really got the advantage here? It's the British. Okay, so the British are not going to move. They're happy with where they're at. Maybe. Do we want to move over here? We know we're going to... Yeah, we want to. So we're going to close the gap to within 2 centimeters. I'll tell you why. We want as much retreat ground as possible for this cavalry. And if the cavalry, by some miracle, wins, then we'll be in a good position to roll up these guns. Okay. Everybody's got 6, but that's the only motion that we have for the French. No, for the British, I should say. And then we come over and we take a look. This unit here is in column. They move 18 centimeters, except they want to form line, like so. And then they can move another 9 centimeters, like this. And this is probably not going to go well for them. We're sending cavalry unsupported, charging artillery. Real light brigade hours we're keeping here. Then our infantry are going to wind up just... what do we do here? I think we got to swing these guys around. And we're going to try to drive off the flanks. We need to open up some space so that our cannons can begin to work the village. And all we need to do is win one of these fights. And then we can swing in and take the town. That's going to be the end of movement. And I think it's going to be this guy that's probably in better shape. Next order of business is cannon fire. The British fire first, and they hit on a 5 or less. We'll call that a success. So they have a second point delivered to that. Then the French get to fire, and the only gun that has the ability to fire here, look at this. This is the only guy. I think maybe he can fire here. Maybe that gap is big enough. So let's fire once at the town and once at this unit. At that unit, we get a 5. That is going to be a miss. We need a 4 or less. Firing at the town is actually going to be a lot harder because we have to worry about the fact that our target is in hard cover. So we need a 1 or a 2 plus... The target is column... No, that's the wrong one. It's... Heavy guns is -2, so that means a 4 or better. The hard cover is +1, so we're still going to hit on a 3 or better. All right, I'll take it. 3 or less. So that's it. We do 1 point of fatigue against these guys in the town, and this gun just doesn't have a fire arc, so it's not going to shoot. Is this a fast play Napoleonic rules? Maybe. I don't know, I guess. That's it for the artillery fire. Nobody is close enough to do close range fire except these guys over here. Yay, we get to do the big sweeping cavalry battle. Hand-to-hand fighting, both guys are going to roll a d6 because they're both cavalry. And the light cavalry are at a disadvantage. They are seasoned. They have a 4 to the British, 5 to the French. Let's just roll, and then we'll add the modifiers. So that's a 3 and a 4, so that's a 9 and an 8. Wait, no, that's a 7. I should probably grab my d20s so I can remember all of this. Doodly, 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 doodly. Okay, so we're at 9 and 7, but we haven't dealt with the fact that there are a couple of other modifiers. So we are at close range, okay? The British have an additional +1. This is the moment before we slam home. Everybody is in line, so those are going to default, not going to be an issue. And then nobody has any FDPs, so I think that's it. Unless I'm missing something here. Infantry may assist infantry, and cavalry can aid cavalry in support, but that's it. Because we're tied, no fatigue is earned by either force. And that means that we can charge home, and we'll split the difference. Both sides want to. And it doesn't matter, because if one side wants to and the other one doesn't, I don't see any rules that would allow for the people who don't want to fight to retreat. So we move on to hand-to-hand fighting. This is section 5. And they make hand-to-hand. Artillery abandon their guns in this case. If you can get to the guns, they just automatically lose. Each brigade adds or subtracts the following factors and then adds its morale factor. So once again, we're going to be rolling d6s, and it's going to be a 2 and a 2, which becomes a 7 for the French in the blue, and a 6 for the British in red. But because the British had the advantage, because they had initiative, I think it was the British, wasn't it? Didn't we move them first? I think so. Either way, it doesn't matter, to be honest with you, because either way, they're going to be within 50% of each other, which means they will be tied, and they may, let's see, at hand-to-hand fighting, the brigade with the lesser totals push back the total difference in centimeters. Oh, it does. It does. So we're going to call it a tie. So they're just going to hold them tight. But if I did this wrong, and this is supposed to be a 9 versus an 8 versus a 6, that would push the British back 2 centimeters. That force, yeah. And they each take 1 FDP, and here we have to pause for a moment of clarity. This is really clever game design. As these forces get tired, the likelihood that somebody doubles the other guy up increases. Right? Once we get to we're only adding 2, then the swing of the die can be way more. So we wouldn't expect any real resolution here in this first turn, but turn 2, turn 3, these fatigue are really going to start piling up, and it's going to get very interesting. That is the end of the turn. We don't have to make any route checks. Let's find out if we can score yet another die. Oh, my goodness. Only 1 unit gets to go for each, and the British gets to go first, which means I think we're going to march up to 2 centimeters. We're going to take the battle to these guys here. And that's really going to be it for the British movement. With 1 movement for the French, we'll do the same over here, and we'll stop 2 minutes short. Then the British, oh, you know what? Then these guys are also going to come up to within 2 centimeters. Okay, and so we're going to give them a whiff of grape. The artillery now get to fire, and the British get to go first. So the British artillery fires, and with a 1, that's going to do another point of damage. Then all 3 of these French now have a line of sight to the town. We're going to roll. We're looking for 3s or less. They are going to add a second fatigue point to the guys in Bumville. That's it for movement. That's it for the close range firing. That's it for the long range firing. Now we have 2 shots over here. The French are going to roll a 3. You add their morale factor. Again, line and line cancels out, so I'm not going to... Oh, no, we do need to worry about that because this is very much like Song of Blades and Heroes. The 3 becomes, adding the veteran infantry, that becomes a 6. You have to add 2. So it becomes an 8 because they are in line. And then you have to subtract 2 because they have 2 fatigue points. The British are going to roll a 3. And the British are going to only add 2. They have seasoned infantry. So their 3 becomes a 5, becomes a 7 because they're in line. And that is going to be it. So with a difference of 1... we don't have any real wild swings here. Except I also forgot the British add 1 just for being awesome. And that means the charge will be carried home here. We do the same thing over here, but the French firing first are going to get a 6, 7, 8 because they are in line and there's no fatigue points there. I love my spin down dice. The British are going to roll. They're going to get a 4, 5, 6 because they're seasoned, 7, 8 because they are aligned, and a 9 because they are British, which means we are once again within 50%, and these 2 forces are going to drive home. The last melee that we have to do is our horses, and our horses, because I guess I need a second color average die, don't I? We're going to wind up with a 3 versus a 4. Now, both of these forces are at -1 for the FDP. We are going to be at a 7 for the British. Do they have any? Are they in? If you're in line, do you have any? No, you do not. Okay. So that's going to be an 8, -1 for a 7. So 7s and 7s. I feel like I'm forgetting something here. So 3 plus 5. Yeah, that's it. So 7 and 7. They each get another fatigue marker. And that is going to be it for this round. No, it's not. There's one more battle we have to do. One more melee. The short-range firing. I didn't do short-range firing over here. The cannons do get to activate during that phase. The 9-pound guns have a morale score of 3. They are going to be rolling d6, as are the French. So this 3 becomes a 5. The French has 5 plus 5 minus 3 plus another 2 because they're in line. Do we count the cannons as in line? I don't think we do. All right, so this score is going to become 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. Plus 2 for line is 9. I'm looking to see if we can double them up. I think that's it. I think we missed it by just a little bit. Kind of. Because we are between 50% and 99, if one total is 50%, brigades that are within, okay. Because the French didn't double up, but did beat the British so this is 9 to 5. The difference is 4. The cannon retires by 4 centimeters. Then the cavalry responds by making half a move plus 3 centimeters. That means they will make contact. Now, one of the things I'm going to do, they do earn because because they fought hand to hand, that does earn them a fatigue point. Then we have to actually check. They are going to move their 3 plus half of their normal movement of 9. That's going to put them 12 centimeters. They're going to halt just shy of the table edge right here. And that's going to mean they'll probably need to make a formation change next turn. But we'll worry about that next turn. I think that's everybody for this particular turn. And we're getting closer to an ultimate resolution. I believe we're on like turn 8, maybe 9. But you got to play the game. So we roll for initiative. And all right, this is getting a little creepy here, guys. And I don't know how quick this really is. The British get to move first, but the British don't have any movement to speak of. It's just going to be... we don't even have... It's going to be cannon fire. The only cannons we have left on the board are the Grand Battery, who has an open shot. We're going to fire 3 more. We are looking to roll low. We need 4s or less. So normally it's 2s. No, we need 3s or less. That's going to be a big swing and a miss for the French guns. Then we have this one unit of guys is going to pivot. They're going to wheel around, and we don't have the movement to get in to hit these guys in the rear. But that will happen on the next turn unless these guys come out of the town, which I don't think they are. So we can do another battle over here. The French are going to roll a 3. The British are going to roll a 4. So the French have a total of 3, 4, 5, 6. Because they're awesome. Oh, you know what, though? That's not true. I forgot. Everybody gets a fatigue point that fought in a melee last turn. So you get fatigue, and you guys get fatigue, and these horses get fatigue over here. It's piling up, guys. I should probably get dice, except I think we're going with more than 6 fatigue dice on a lot of these. All right. I can't remember what my dice roll were here, so I'm going to no, it was a 3 and a 4. So the 3 minus 3, right, for the fatigue points. And then we have the veteran infantry, means our ultimate result is a 3. The British rolled a 4 minus 1 plus 2. So it's 4, 5, 6, 5, 2, 3 means we push these guys back. Wait, 5 to 3. See, I told you we're getting closer. In hand to hand, the lesser total is pushed back the difference. So this does get pushed back 3 centimeters, a little something like that. Hooray. And everybody's going to pick up more fatigue. I'm running out of red chips here. So that becomes a 2 and a 4. Now over here, the French are going to roll a 5 minus 1 plus 3. That's a 7 altogether. The British are going to roll a 2, 3, 4, 3. 7 to 3, we have our first doubling up. When you double up, that force is routed. And as we discussed, routing means first of all, everybody goes bing, bang. And then he's going to have to retire and move 3 centimeters. So I'm going to turn him back this way. And then we have another battle over here, but that's going to be with the D6s. So a 5 and a 5 becomes a 2 and a 2 for the fatigue points. Becomes a 6 versus a 7, a difference of 1. The French push the British back 1 centimeter, and everybody gets a treat. And that's going to be the end of the turn. Then we roll for, these guys do have the option of testing to see if they rally. We roll, and if we get greater than their FDPs, they rally. So we get a 5, so they turn around. But they get 1 extra FDP because they routed. So you get 1 anytime you fight. There we go. So they're going to have, I stole from Peter to pay Paul. Let's put that back. I'm not the government. That does truly end the turn now. So we roll our dice. And this time the French are going to get to move 5 units. And we'll bring these guys home to find out what happens when you hit your opponent in the flank or rear. Like so. And that's the only real movement. Oh, no. The French are going to get to come up to 2 centimeters. So because... they could pursue, though, couldn't they? Did we want to pursue? If 1 total is less, the brigade with the lesser total is pushed back. Yeah, no, I think that's it. Every brigade takes 1 FDP. Yeah, no, so now they get to move up to the 2 centimeters. And that's where we halt. So we are going to have another shooting phase here. But before that shooting phase, we have our cannon fire phase. And this time, we're going to get a total. We need 3 hits. So we're going to get 1 more. I got to start using yellow because I'm out. Then we go to the firing phase. And the French are going to roll a 4, 5, 6, 7, minus 2, plus 2. They get a result of a 7. The British roll an average die. They get a 4, 5, 6, minus 1, 2, 3. That means they get a total of 3 altogether. I get that right? 4, 5, 6, minus 3 is 3. And then 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4. Okay, I forgot about the fact that these guys are in line. All right, so 7 there. It's going to be 2, 4, 8, 5. They lose by 2. So when you lose by 2, the French are going to slam home and continue the battle. Okay, that was just the shooting phase. Now I'm going to start here and work my way around that way. The horses are going to fight, and that means rolling the D6s. So we have a 6 to the British, to 2 for the French. So the French have a total of 5 plus 2 minus 4 becomes a grand total of 3. 5 plus 2 minus 4 is 3. The British have 6 plus 4 minus 4. That's 10. That becomes 6. So the British have doubled up. What does this mean? Plus 3 if cavalry pushing back infantry or cavalry. I think, okay, we got a couple of things to consider here. Cavalry pushing back infantry. I think this means if you make base-to-base combat, that might be +3 here. I don't know. I might have to retire and think about this a little bit more. I think if you contact, so one unit retreats, and if you contact them, does that mean you immediately fight another round of combat with a +3 to the victor now? That might be the way this works. I'm gonna have to call the number that Ian gives me, and ask him some serious questions about this. I'm also gonna have to put some fatigue points down, and I'm gonna have to add some over here too. I don't know that this is so fast. We're probably gonna wind up with over an hour-long video here, gang. I mean, it's fast by some standards. Maybe I should have started with Bumville 1, huh? Maybe that one would have gone a little quicker. We have one more combat over here. I think this is what we're going to do. I think we're going to add both combat factors here. So we got the 5, and we got but there are rules for when you're in support. I just don't see any for attacks in the flanks. Unless they're here, and I just haven't seen it yet. So +3 if attacking flank. I think that's probably what it is. Each brigade subtracts and then adds its morale. The brigades of the lesser, if you're in every brigade except supports, so you don't take 1 fatigue. Well, that's good news. Both of these units will take a fatigue afterwards, but that's for afterwards. Let's roll for the British force. They're going to get a 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, -2, right? So they get a total of 5. Then supports add half of their morale. If I understand this correctly, the British is going to be a 5. And I'm going to roll 2 dice for the French. 2 for the start, 2 for the infantry, and 4 for the cavalry. Now the cavalry are going to add their 5 plus an additional 3 because they have the flank. So that's +8 altogether. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 minus the fatigue becomes a total score of 5. And that doesn't seem right to me. Are you telling me that we have the same score despite the fact that you're getting hit in the back by cavalry? It gets even worse because you only add half the die roll and half the supports. Or half the... You take all of the fatigue, but only half the morale and half of the die roll. So this 9 becomes a 4, which becomes a 0 because we've got 4 fatigue. That doesn't make any sense to me. I think you ignore the fatigue on this one. I think you add 4 to this roll. So this becomes a 6, 7, 8, 9, subtract the 4, and you're right back to 5, where this is a tie roll. Maybe the problem is that we rolled a 2 here, but I don't like that. I don't like that at all. That seems really strange to me. It seems like this game it's missing a few things, or maybe I'm missing a few things. This should be a total rout. Oh, by the way, because these guys charged, because I tell you what the difference is here. The cavalry here charged. So that gives them a +1. So that means the French win by 1. Since this unit cannot retreat, they will be destroyed. I think that's probably the right way to play this. But then both of these units pick up a fatigue, and it's really looking interesting for the French. Now, the British don't have anybody that can move on this next turn. So all we're going to roll for is for the French get to activate 3, or get to move 3, not activate, but move. And then the British get to go first. Now, the British don't have anything really to do, so how do we... I guess we go change, and then just get out of the way. So that's 1. And then 2 is going to be to bring these guys 9 centimeters closer to Bumville. They're not quite going to get close enough to do much. So we're going to hold them back until next turn. We're going to allow 3 more shots. Kablam, blah, blam. With a 2-2-3, that is going to add 3 more fatigue to the guys in town. We're just completely leveling this town. Even with the hard cover, it just wasn't meant to be. So when our infantry drives home, I think they're going to have a much easier go of things. They will take the support from the cavalry. I don't know that cavalry can attack into towns. That might be a no-no. If we consider each of these to be a draw, and we're getting late in the night, I don't want to go too deep. Let's find out what happens here, though, at least. So on this fight, both guys get, of course, the die rolls are the same, and so that means that we're going to have a total of 6. That becomes 11 minus 5 is a 6. This is a 10 minus 5 is a 5. The British get pushed back one more time. A lot of pushbacks. At some point, all of these fatigue points are going to mean something, but it's not this point. So over here, the French are going to roll a 5 plus 3 minus 3. They get a result of a 5. The British are going to roll a 3 plus 2 minus 4. So they roll a 1. So 5 to 1, that's a difference of 4. Double them up. That's going to be a rout by 4 centimeters. And that earns them an additional fatigue point. So they're up to 5 now. The British will hold right there because we have to check to see if they succeed, and this time they fail their rally check, so they go away. And that's going to be it for the turn. On the next turn, we can wheel these guys around, and they're going to make some shots. These guys will also make some shots, but because we're attacking in a town, I think this will be 2 rounds of fire. So we'll do this combat first, and with a 5 for the French and a 4 for the British. This is a 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, but we're at -2, -5. We get a grand total of 1 for the British. Oh, no, 2 because they're British. They get a +1 for shooting. The guys inside the town are... Oh, no, I'm sorry, that was right. There's a 1 for the French. The guys inside the town will roll a 4, 5, 6, -6. They get a 0, so they lose. So what does that mean? They lose by 1, and are they shot out of the town? Does that mean they have to fall back 1? And I guess they have a chance here. We have another shot here. The French are going to roll a 3, 6, -2, -3 means they get a 1. And the British are going to roll a 5, -6, +1, +2, 3. So 8 -6, they get a 2. So the British win that and drive these guys back. But these guys will now drive home. So let's find out what a combat looks like inside or at the edge of a village. If you are in hard cover, if your enemy's in hard cover, you are at -2. So this is a total of -7 +3 still. So this is a total of -4 for the French. So they get a 5 -4 is 1. The British are at a total of 2 -6. So that's -2. So what does it mean to be within 100%? Look, they're driven out. The French take the town, and that's going to be the end of the game. What does it mean when you start getting negative numbers? That whole doubling doesn't make any sense at this point. And if we've played this game before, I think we understand now why I didn't play it again. I have questions. Now, a lot of those questions, to be fair, arise from my relative inexperience with respect to the Napoleonic era. If you guys have a better understanding of the intricacies of this era, let me know down in the comments, would you? These guys, I forgot, these guys each have 1 extra point. So 4, 9, right? Nobody charged this turn. That's a 3. So total score for the French of a 3. 6, 10, minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 becomes a 4. And now these guys are driven back. The only thing I can think of here is that every time you're driven back, maybe, but that's, you get 1 extra FDP. It says brigades pushed back. If one total is half of the other, that force is routed. I think if you have a positive, I think the way to deal with this is if you have a positive number back to the town and they don't, you automatically win. The other side is automatically rounded. That's the only way that the math makes sense. And you can see what a near run thing this was. If we had 2 positive numbers, it would have been FDP, FDP. I don't know. I don't know. If the guys in town have a positive and you have a negative, then that's it for the attacking. There's something odd about this game that I'm just not wrapping my brain around. This is where I'm going to stop. I think we'll be going long enough. It's been an interesting little exercise, and it goes faster the longer you play. I think as a multiplayer game, if everybody is handling, you probably handle, I don't know, 8 to 10 of these brigades, and it would go pretty fast, but it does start to bog down a little bit. It feels like one of those games, it feels like one of those Osprey games where it's punching well above its word count, if you will. But it also feels like an Osprey game in that there are critical nodes that are just not there. There's infrastructure that's just missing, that I, as an inexperienced Napoleonic wargamer, can't quite say, well, everybody knows how that would work, because I'm not everybody. Hey, help me out, guys. If you can offer any advice, I'd appreciate it. Till next time, I'm praying for you.